places that you ask yourself, I wonder what they make in that building. Well, today I'm not in a building, I'm in a helicopter. I'm at Wysong Enterprises, and here's Steve.
I'm Steve Wysong, and I'm president of Wysong Enterprises, also the owner of the company. And Wysong Enterprises is a helicopter company at the Tri-City Airport. At Wysong, we take a helicopter that's flyable. They'll fly them in, and we do a completion on them. We do a lot with the EMS helicopters, putting all the medical equipment in them. I kind of explain it as it's like taking a bare cargo van, turn it into an ambulance. We take a flyable helicopter and turn it into a flying ambulance. We do also law enforcement completions, basically turn a helicopter into a flying police car. And then we do a lot of work for the corporate people that want to just fly from point A to point B and have a nice interior. We're currently about 45 people. Works out well, that number. We were up over 50 at one time, but we found 45 is a good number for the amount of aircraft that we work on. We actually are hiring more guys that are coming out of the military and trying to train them ourselves. It's been easier having local people that really enjoy staying in the area and that want to work in the area, and it's an interesting business we're in, and we're doing a good job of helping in the EMS market of saving lives and building EMS aircraft, and in the law enforcement world of help make things safer for the community all over the U.S. First thing is that somebody has a good attitude that wants to do this. Because I tell people in life, if you got to work, you might as well do something you enjoy doing. If you don't like it, find a job you like to do. So I like to get people who are really interested in what we do here. It's an interesting business. So if somebody's can work with their hands, we can pretty much teach them how to work on the aircraft. Once in a while we get someone that brings an aircraft in that says, well, whenever you need to work on one, you can work on it. So we've had 9 months, but it shouldn't have taken that long. It just wasn't a priority. And generally, like I said, it's around 3 months, 3 to 4 months that an aircraft's here. That's if we're doing paint on there. On an older aircraft, we have to strip all the paint off and then put the new on. On a new aircraft, they come in primered, and so it's a little bit easier. It doesn't take as long on the paint. And then some aircraft just come here for the technology that we do and don't get paint. So it saves about a month time there if we're not doing paint. The biggest thing with changes for us would be all the newer technology that's coming out. Everything now is integrated electronically. We used to put radios in, it was a standalone radio, it did one thing. Now every radio we put in is electrically interfaced to another one. And so we have to make sure everything is working and talking to each other. It's the computer age we're into. And so that's our challenges of the newer equipment, of getting it to talk to the other radios. And we used to get done, we'd take us a couple hours to check out a system. Now it takes 2 or 3 days because we got to go in there and program everything, make sure everything's set up and everything's talking to everything. We do work on a lot of old aircraft, we do work on some new ones, but on an old aircraft it'll come in, we'll take all the old paint off of it, we'll pull the old interior out, pull the old radios out, and then we put new state-of-the-art radios in the aircraft with all the latest technology. And then we also will redo the interiors to make them look good. And then we'll repaint the aircraft. And usually the customer, for the jobs we do, they're specialized contracts. So they all have their own artwork they want to do, or their logos they want on there. And so we will put about anything that they want on the aircraft. They usually send us their artwork in a file on a computer, and then we'll print it out, and then we'll lay it out by hand on the aircraft to match it up to it. Sometimes we'll do what we call a negative decal, where we'll have on logo, like a sheriff's logo is really hard, but it'll come in on a decal that will pull off certain parts of it, spray it, and then pull the others off and spray it. This aircraft behind us just came over from South Korea. It was shipped on a boat. The customers out of New York bought the aircraft in South Korea and then brought it here for us to work on it, and then it'll fly out of here to New York when we're done with it. The seating is already pre-approved from the factory. So it has to all be FAA approved. New York's trying to cut back the amount of flights on aircraft, and most of the ones flying up there are 7-seat aircraft. So this customer bought a couple used aircraft that seats 14, do the same amount of flying time, but twice the passenger loads. Also, what we've done on this aircraft is we put an audio system in it that we put together that has 4 different languages in it. So when they do a tour, the pilot hits a button and then he can hear the tour in English, and they also have French and Spanish and German in there that they can select at each seat what language they want to hear.
Just north of Liberty Island is Ellis Island, a gateway for millions of immigrants to the United States between 1892 and 1954.
Hallo und willkommen an Bord. Während unserer Tour werden wir Sie auf besondere Wahrzeichen und andere interessante Sehenswürdigkeiten aufmerksam machen.
L'endroit est devenu un musée d'immigration en 1990. Un tiers de la population américaine peut tracer ses ancêtres à des personnes étant arrivées par l'île d'Ellis Island.
Ubicada al lado oeste del puerto de Nueva York, se encuentra uno de los lugares más emblemáticos del mundo, la Estatua de la Libertad.
When I got into this, we used to do a lot of the TV station helicopters, and in those days we built a lot of the equipment ourselves, the audio systems, video systems, and matter of fact, some of the videos that you saw when OJ did his famous drive down the interstate, some of those video cards that did that video was built in my basement here in Piney Flats. And so we did a lot of our own customizing for the TV helicopters. And back in the 90s, we probably did about 70% of all the TV helicopters around the country. And that was a specialty of ours, but that market has kind of gone away now, and they consolidated into less aircraft. When we were doing the TV helicopter completions, we had one, and I counted the antennas on that aircraft, and there was 21 antennas we installed on that aircraft for all the different radios and equipment we put in there, which is a lot because there's not a lot of room on helicopters to put antennas. But we were able to get everything on there and get it to work and not interfere with each other. So that was, to me, was a real technical challenge to make all that work. And it was out of the Dallas market that we did this. We had over 20 aircraft fly here from the West Coast out in California and Seattle just for us to do the work here. And we had a pretty well established, a good reputation that the stations heard, if you want it done right, bring it to Wysong, because they've got the technical ability to be able to give you what you want.
When we come back, Steve tells us how Wysong Enterprises got started as a family business and a special tribute to someone very close to the company. You're watching Made in Sullivan County on Power 7.
Wysong Enterprise has been a family operation since I started. My wife and me worked together in the beginning. She used to do wiring harnesses, and in the 90s, when 1989, when I started this company, we used to travel on the road to do these TV stations. And my wife was homeschooling my 2 kids, so she was in a room we'd rent a suite, and she'd be homeschooling the kids, building wiring harnesses while I was on the aircraft mounting equipment. So it started out as a family thing when my kids were young. Well, both my older kids had grown up in the business, as I've said, and Holly, my oldest daughter, and Rodney started working the business as soon as they basically got out of, well, even before they got out of high school. They were out here a lot, and I taught them, Holly, how to do wiring, and Rodney was more of the salesman type, so eventually he got into the sales side. My daughter Holly, she's after about 10-12 years, she decided to make a career change, and even though she still works once in a while part-time, she's pretty much a homemaker these days. My youngest daughter, Kelly, looks like she's going to basically become the new face of the company. She's been working the company full-time for several years now, and we're trying to groom her into becoming more of a main figure in the company and possibly replace me one day. So I'm very proud to have all my family involved since a kid and be able to spend time together in that way. My son developed into the industry. He came, when he graduated high school, he came on as, worked in the paint shop and worked his way up to the point where he became the face of Wysong Enterprises. And we lost my son about 3 years ago to cancer, and he fought it for about 2.5 years, and we had the means of trying to go all over the country to see if there was any technology out there or anything that would help him, and he passed away from it about 3 years ago now. It was a big loss to me because we were very close. We got to work together, go to shows together. Matter of fact, when we went to shows, I took him as a kid. People would come see Steve Wysong, and who's this? Oh, it's my son. For the last 10, 15 years, people would come to the shows to see Rodney, and they'd say, well, who are you? If he wasn't in the booth, and well, I'm Rodney's dad. So it became like a role reversal, which I was very proud of him. And he did a real good job of taking care of the customers, and they had a lot of respect for him. And the painting that's in our conference room was a painting that the company that owns the local wings program, MedTrans Corporation, did up for me as a tribute to him and as a thank you to me and just a memory for me. They've also put his name on the vertical fin of the wings aircraft locally. It has the name Rodney up there. And so it was a nice tribute to our company that I started and that Rodney really was able to come up in and as a family company. So it's very special to me. He's still there with us, and sometimes I'll think to myself, well, what would Rodney do? I gotta say that losing a son is very hard, but I know I'm gonna see him again one day because of my faith. I'm a Christian. I believe that, and I know he was a believer, that we're gonna see each other again one day. So I'd like to spread the story about my son and me to other people and where I'm heading and where he is today. The 35 years we had together, I wouldn't take it back, and you know, the time we've been able to spend together.
Coming up next, we'll hear about what the helicopter industry looks like in the future, the education and workforce that will be needed, and how to apply for a job at Wysong.
Right now, it's the EMS is #1 force, the aircraft, air ambulance, law enforcement, and then the corporate world of doing corporate aircraft. There's a lot of helicopters to us are a lot more like pickup trucks where they're used for utility. Most airplanes are to fly people or cargo from point A to point B, while helicopters are out. They're lifting air conditioners onto rooftops. They're servicing power lines, like I said. They're doing a lot of other utility work. They're doing rescues of people in flooding situations, pulling people off rooftops. So they're more like pickup trucks where they're more utility aircraft and can be used for a lot of unique different applications. The big thing is the noise of helicopters. And that's the reason they want to limit it over the cities, because they are the jet engine helicopters, which are all the ones we work on, are noisier. The new technology has come, it's going to be electric powered engines, which will be a lot quieter. And that'll be the future because they're wanting to do the vertical lift takeoff machines. To do more flying over cities, it's going to have to be a lot quieter and more environmentally friendly with the electric power vehicles. There's quite a few 7 or 8 companies right now are developing electric power. Some of the companies that have not done this in the past but haven't been in aviation, Uber is one of the companies involved in developing a vertical lift electric powered aircraft that will fly 4 to 6 people in it and take off from a building top downtown and fly you to the airport or some other preset location. And the idea is to be able to do what you do to get a car. You'll have an app that you need a seat to fly to the airport to get on an airliner. You select that in there, you go into probably a bank building or some place like that that has a rooftop heliport, ride the elevator up and get off and go hop in your helicopter and ride to the airport to get on your passenger plane. The problem right now is they got to get the battery technology down. They have the engines, electric engines, but they don't quite have the battery power yet. But they'll be shorter flights, so they'll have more time to charge. They won't, typical helicopter flies 2 to 3 hours on a fuel load. With the battery power, they might only have about an hour, but most of their flights will be short hauls. The technology we have for the electronics to control it and do it basically without pilots if it goes that way. But that's the concept that several companies are working on right now, and it'll all be automation. It's exactly like the Jetson. When I was a kid, I watched that. My wife made a comment to me though, but I don't see how they're going to fold it into a briefcase. And then I'm starting to think, okay, what technology do they have that would collapse into a briefcase? But the idea overall of having an aircraft coming to your possibly residence and picking you up, and they're talking about having this within the next 10 years. There will still be the turbine-powered aircraft, we think, for longer flights, and there'll still be needs for it. We do a lot of specialized installs, like for power companies, where they're hovering over power lines and cleaning high-tension lines. Different stuff like that. You might have to have a turbine power to do some of that. Our workforce in the future, we're not sure where it's going to go. It's going to be around for a while, what we see today. But in 20 years down the road, we might be working on electric engines instead of working on turbine engines. The technology will still be working on electronics, and that's what's going to control the engines. It's been said that the future AP mechanics, which is an airframe and power plant mechanics, are going to have to be more electronic people because they're going to be all electric engines with electric controls on them. So our whole industry is going to be changing down the road. It's like most jobs. You got to, even though you go through a school training, you still got to do on-job training in the industry to really find out how you're really doing things. So the schooling is important. I know Northeast State, they've started it. I think they're working on a new facility to try to have more equipment so they can do better training. Right now they're a little limited on being able to do hands-on with what they've got. And that's really the key, is getting your hands on the type of equipment we work on. They can go to our website, and there's an employment section on there that they can fill out something on it. They can call here and ask to come out for an interview if they feel like this is something they want to do. Call, make an appointment with we do have an HR person here.
After the break, Steve tells us about the partnership Wysong has with Tri-Cities Airport. Thanks for watching Power 7.
The big thing about working with the airport here is we actually help them out on their revenue, because the more landings that Tri-City does, the more they get back from the FAA. And so by us bringing all these aircraft in here, they would not normally come here if we weren't here. So we bring a lot more operations to the airport, which can generate more funding from the FAA for the airport to do different projects with. Every time a helicopter lands or takes off, it gets counted with a count for the total number of activities for this airport. So the more activities, landings and takeoffs you have, the more funding you can get from the FAA. So we feel like we really support the airport in that way. Airports really likes having us here. They like to show us off to people that come in, and they're showing around the airport. hey, here's a company, a high-tech company that's here in the Tri-City. Well, we have a lot of our customers that also have corporate jets, and they can fly in, taxi right up to our building and get out and look at their aircraft or pick their aircraft up. It's good because when they drop aircraft off, they can get on the airline and fly home, and then they come back when we're done.
After the break, we'll hear stories about flying across the country and flying over major cities in a helicopter, and some final thoughts. You're watching Made in Sullivan County on Power 7.
I'm an airplane pilot, but because I've been in the technical business so long, I'd rather work on stuff, and that I was so busy figuring out the technical stuff, I didn't want to concentrate on the flying part. And you got to have your mind straight when you fly, because you got to be ready for an emergency, something that comes up. So I've got an airplane license, but I really haven't flown in 40 years. When I got into working on the aircraft, I tell people I'd rather work on them. I've flown in aircraft all the time. When I was doing the TV station work, I've been over every major city at 1,000 feet in a helicopter, because we got done with the work, we'd have to go up and check out the equipment to make sure it's feeding the live signals back to the ground, the cameras are working and everything. So I've been over every major city that probably most people will never get to do in a lifetime at 1,000 feet, flying down Las Vegas strips, and I've done that about 10 times, never had to pay for it because I was on a checkout flight. And just flying over New York's kind of interesting to see all the buildings. Just like I said, every city has this unique look to it. Most helicopters fly lower than you do in airplanes. And going back to my son, I've never done this, but one time we had a helicopter here from California. He got to ride to go back with the pilot. They flew 2-hour legs going back, and he told me stories of flying across the Texas, where you see the cattle skull bone heads out in the desert, and just all the stuff that you could see down low that you don't see from up high. And I've never done it myself. Took them 20 hours flying time to go from here to back to California. And they were in 2-hour legs, and they'd stop and refuel and then take off. And so that's a real experience to do. Well, the biggest trade show for us that we attend is the helicopter show. We also attend the law enforcement show and also the airborne air medical show. And customers come in there to look to see what the latest technology is, to buy aircraft, and they'll come to see who is in the industry that does the work that they need done. So it's a way for us to showcase what we do. Some of the shows we've actually had an aircraft we completed and we're able to take to the show, and we just got back in February from Atlanta, where the show was this year, and there was 60 some aircraft that they brought into the convention center in downtown Atlanta, and that's usually typical of the aircraft that come in. And a lot of at the shows, a lot of what we get out of the show is just reconnecting with existing customers that we have. My big thing is that I try to promote is it's great to get new customers, but you need to take care of your existing customers. Realize they're your bread and butter, and they're the ones coming back. So it's great getting new ones, but don't forget about your existing customers. And so it's a good time to be able to get together with them and to know that you're still around, because if you don't show up at a show, at least with some kind of booth, it's like, well, where are they at this year? So it's kind of expected you to be at one of the trade shows. I've loved doing what I do. In high school, I had an interest in electronics and I had an interest in flying. And I tell people you put it together, it's what you call avionics, which is my main background, is the electronics or avionics in these aircraft. And I've always enjoyed doing it. And it's just important to be able to enjoy the job you do. And I feel like our employees I get a lot more out of them, more efficiency, because if they like the job, and we try to treat them right, give them good benefits, and know that everybody has needs from time to time, and you just got to work around those needs. But to me, your employees are more important almost than your customers, because they're the ones that allows you to get the work done to sell something. So to me, employees are almost 51% and the customers are 49%. And so I think it's important to take care of your employees and let them know that, you know, the owner and the president of the company cares about them and what they do. And I got to say, I was born and raised in Dayton, Ohio as a kid. When I was 18, I moved to South Florida for 12 years. And then by way of South Carolina, we moved here in 1987. But I just love it here. When I started this business in 1989, I could have went anywhere in the country, but I just loved East Tennessee. And when I was traveling, I used to come home, whether it's wintertime, flying in and seeing the bare trees, or summertime, seeing the greenery. And I just used to love to come back to East Tennessee. It's just a great place to live.